Hello and welcome to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever. This is a replay review for King Sackhead, or Sheep Thief as he is known. So yeah, it's a ladder game and it's around 700. So yeah, he's actually given up 200 points on this opponent here, and the map is very tricky, so maybe I'll just turn the music down slightly. But yeah, this is a tricky map, so not an easy one for players of this level to play. But it says 20 by 20 here, but you can see that the map border is out quite a bit further than where the actual map ends. So it's actually a 15 by 15 map is what I'm trying to tell you. And also it does have lander on the edge, empty space, so it's definitely larger than a 10 by 10, but not so much larger. Not as large as you might think. So anyway, with that out of the way, that's important info because obviously it informs how the game will be played. So let's take a look at the map first. Now, it's not a typical map, but we can still go over the general idea of such a map and why this map should be played like that. So first thing, where's the resources? What do we have available to us out across the map? So you can see the mass is plentiful. There are lots of mech spots, and they're spread far and wide. There are bases on the sides. These are key locations. This base, although it looks like it's right next to you, you do have to go around these cliffs here, so there's terrain that we need to be aware of. You can see there's a lot of terrain here, a lot of little lanes created by that, little valleys and things, and this is important. So this terrain is important, and basically, although there is a lot of terrain, the map is very open. You can reach everywhere in the map almost in a straight line, even though there's terrain in the way, basically. So a lot of mass, very spread out, a lot of lanes to attack, and that means that we need to be making a lot of units. And we're going to win this game with map control. That's the aim of this game here. Okay, very simple. We don't have a lot of resources like directly in our base that we can sit on and protect. It's all about getting across the map, doing a lot of damage, taking more of the map than the opponent, winning off of map control, then converting that lead into a crushing victory, or just eliminating any possibility of them doing damage to us, which is basically the same as winning, right? That's one of the things is that if your opponent can't damage you anymore, you have won the game, basically. And sometimes, well, very often that's what I aim to reach. I don't aim to actually kill the ACU necessarily. You're aiming to get to a point where you can't be damaged, at least not critically, and at that point the game is only a matter of time before it ends. So mistake here, I don't know why you tried to build the pigeon so far away, but you did, and that's a bit of a waste of time. Obviously it's not too major, but you want to avoid these kind of things. You want to take your time when you're placing your initial buildings in your base, because those few seconds at the start can be relevant, especially on smaller maps. On a larger map maybe less so, but again, we want to do everything right in every map and eliminate some bad habits. So let's take stock. What is the plan for King Sackhead? We got some manual reclaim going on. Okay, I would say basically when you're these are basics, right? So we can go see this queue here. We can be pretty detailed. So we're walking over here. Then we're reclaiming. We're walking. This is a walk here to reclaim. This is another walk here to get like 2 rocks. Then we're walking up here to get 1 rock. Then we're walking again to get 2 rocks. All right, so this is just not efficient, basically. This is a big old waste of time walking around a mass point, which isn't getting built. So this manual reclaim is actually a detriment to gathering mass, because the mechs is going to be delayed and you're not actually getting much from it. You've actually missed one of the rocks that gives you 38 as well. So basically what I would do is build the mechs, walk over here, grab these rocks here, and then move on. So you want to try and make sure the engineer moves as little as possible. Every time it's walking, it's wasting its time. And these big circular orders are going to waste a huge amount of time and give you... They're basically going to cost you mass, because this mechs is not going to be built until the very end. Okay, so this is important. Also here, you walked straight past mass, so you could have, like, manual reclaim here would have been nice. And here, not so much, I guess. You could just do a little bit here on these juicy rocks. So now we're stalling 12 mass per second, right? And we only have 19, no, we have 7 mass income. So everything is working. This means, right, there's a Medicraze video which will explains how mass stalling affects your economy. So basically, if you have, let's say you had 9 income and you're draining minus 18, right? So that would be imagine you had this mech. So you're at plus 9, minus 18. Everything works at half speed, right? These factories are at half speed. This factory is building engineers at half speed. Okay, so it's actually slightly worse than that. You're slightly slower than half speed here. So you can imagine how bad this is, right? All these engineers coming out of your base are heading towards mexes, right? I like this queue, by the way. Now, okay, well, we'll go into that in a second. But yeah, these stalls at the start of the game, because they're delaying your expanding engineers basically from being ever constructed, can have a huge knock-on effect later on in the game. So you want to be real careful about this. All you need to do to fix this stuff, right, usually, is just take a walk with the ACU. Just walk on a bit and allow this to come back to 0. And maybe, you know, this mex is built by then, maybe this mex or this mex is built by then. And then you have a little bit of mass, and then you can continue rebuilding once again. You can finish off the factory you were trying to finish. There's really, like, pushing through on this factory is a detriment to you, because now we're still at minus 11, right? So now this factory is working, again, less than half speed. It means a mantis is going to take like over 20 seconds to build, right? See how this mantis should be built a long time ago. And so there's no reaction there to the mass stall, but it's very important that you don't allow yourself to mass stall heavily in the opening. Alright, so in terms of, you know, strategic choices, let's say unit choices, yeah, so you'll notice this mex is still not built. This is how slow it's going. This should be built a long time ago. So we still only have 3 mexes. This is a huge issue. Huge issue. Like, there's a reason we're mass stalling so heavily when we're really trying to build what with 15 build power. That's all. So not taking mexes fast enough is the easiest way to, you know, crush yourself in the opening, basically. So it's not a good opening, and basically just the expansion is slow. The mex taking is not quick enough. We missed a mex here. That's not a big, I mean, that's just a simple error. There's no point in harping on that too much. It's just a misclick, basically. And misclicks are misclicks. They'll happen to anyone. I like the bomber. I think a bomber is a good choice. Second air bomber, this is a sensible decision on a map like this, because obviously it's a huge map. You can see, I mean, look, you've gone for labs very early in the factory, and the bomber, it gets across the map faster, even though it comes out of the second factory. So it's quite clear why you make a bomber here. The distance traveled distance gets covered much more quickly, obviously, by an air unit. And yeah, there's still no reaction to the mass though. So if this is already like a crucial thing that has to be fixed. We cannot just ride through a 10-20 mass stall in the opening. You can't do it. You have to resolve these things as soon as they arise, because I mean, look, this map especially, and the game in general, macro is extremely important. The economy is the key, and so we need to be, our eyes need to be always just, you know, catching at least the edge of this eco bar and seeing what it's looking like, seeing what adjustments need to be made. Okay, so we're finished our factory. We just pushed through a mass stall there, and so well, I guess we made it at the other end. You can see there's now several extra mexes built. Now all those mexes were also slowed down in their construction, as in while they were being built by the mass stall. So those all could have been built a long time ago. Now one thing I would suggest on a map like this, right, is, so we've already gone over what the map is going to be about. It's going to be about map control. It's going to be about a lot of units spread all over the place. And then of course we're going to have to scale up our economy with the map control, as in, you know, have additional power once we're getting a lot of extra mexes and things. But if we're aiming for a lot of map control and we're expecting a lot of units to be made and raids to come in, then what we should do is just build some factories. The expanding engineers should build a factory. So you should definitely have a factory in this expansion. There's no doubt about that. At least one. Probably you could make multiple. And then also have one maybe in this corner, one in this corner, and basically the factory is going to, one, it's going to produce engineers to get some reclaim and continue expanding. It can produce units to attack the opponent and also defend. And if and when we get raided, it can replace those mexes quickly by producing engineers, and then the engineers go and grab the mexes. So factories spread across this map is going to be, they're going to be very valuable assets. And of course it's much easier to raid a mex than it is to kill a factory, because of course this factory has far more HP than a mex. So factories spread across the map are going to help a great deal. Now at this point, right, at this point we can make the game a lot easier for ourselves, right? So we've sort of, the opening build is finished. We actually have mass. Now at this point we can start planning for the future. Okay, we can start planning for getting half the map. Right now, if we look at what half the map means, that means way more mass. Okay, we already have 12 mexes. There's like 12 mexes like right here. Well, let's see, wait, 3, 4, 7, 10. So there's like 10 here, and then there's more than that over here, right? So we're going to have a lot more mass if we just get half the map, which is what we have to at least aim for in the at a base level. We have to get half the map. It's 1v1, you know. If you want to be equal, you need half the map. So we need to plan for that. So we can just grab these engineers, right? So we can get 3 of them maybe to just begin building factories. Okay, you can literally just do this across the map if you want. Just find somewhere and queue up a lot of factories, right? Because you're going to need them. Now, if you want, maybe you can build them around mexes. If you have that, say, a template, you know, the template which has, say, 4 factories around a mex, that can be a useful template to have. And you can just throw that around a mex somewhere. So I would say grab 3 of these guys and start building factories. Then you can grab the other 3 idle engineers here, and they can build power, because you're going to need the power as well to spend the mass and build the mexes and things. And all the other engineers can go basically take map control, build the hydros. And say in these bases, we also want maybe a PD. So transport is very good on this map. transport is, well, actually, I would say transport at the high level is essential on this map. And you want to be dropping to these bases and basically immediately trying to get a PD and try to get factories and try and get spam going. And if you can't get, if you get secured, say, on the opponent's side of the map, it can be a game-winning advantage if you can, say, get a base going here and continue spamming, because these mexes will never be safe at that point unless you're rooted out of here. So it's a transport is very nice on this map, and I would definitely recommend investing in a transport early on to expand with engineers and secure additional bases and basically create proxies where you're gonna spam a lot of units, right? So there's a few mexes we haven't queued up. So again, that's another thing. We need to be always taking more mexes, and at this point we're going to start overflowing at this point. So we have a lot of idle engineers, and they could have been building a while ago. Okay, let's see what's happening. What are the orders being given here? So we can see a single engineer building power here. Can see a single engineer building power here. So this is not very efficient, right? And this isn't commensurate to the map we're playing. So giving a single engineer an order to build power is not really what we want to be doing. Because again, it's a big map, there's a lot of resources, we need to be ambitious, right? We need to be like, okay, that's a lot of mass. Plus, we're overflowing mass right now. This should be a major red flag. Okay. So at the moment, I think we're probably microing some units and things. But the essential point is we're overflowing mass, right? And we don't have much overflow of energy, right? So that means, basically, when you have too much mass and your power is like even, right? This is more or less even, right? Plus 80 is not a huge overflow. That means we need to spend our mass, but also we don't have enough power to use all that mass income. That's what this means. Because if you imagine, like, he's spending 21, right? Mass, and he's spending 240 power. So it's similar, it's close enough to, like, what, 10 to 1. It's a bit more than 10 to 1. So if we start spending, you know, twice as much mass, which is what we need to spend to just break even, just to overflow 1 mass per second. We need to double our mass spend. Then, I mean, we're going to need probably double the power as well, right? So when you have, you know, small overflow of power and you're overflowing mass, you need to immediately queue up power. And not with a single engineer apiece. These guys should be building together, and we should add even more engineers building power. And then we need to queue up more than this number of factories. We need to queue up, you know, 10 factories here. This is a scenario where you need 10 factories to come online soon. Because again, we're still getting more and more mass. Okay, and we should be expanding over here. But there's still more mexes to be that we have queued up, so there's even more mass to come. So again, this is about the economy, really, because the easiest way to win the game is to have more stuff than your opponent, and you have more stuff by dealing with the economy more effectively than your opponent. Okay, so again, mass overflows should be, you know, red flags. They shouldn't make you panic, but they deserve your immediate attention, right? Okay, so yeah, we're doing a lot of, like, you know, we're microing some mantis around, which is fine, but there's easier ways, right? There's more effective ways for these units to be effective. What was that sentence? Is more effective ways for them to... There's simpler ways for these mantis to be extremely effective, and it's just called a rally point. All we need is to rally units to expansions. We need to just, you know, this is the simplest way. If you try and play this kind of map, you want to try and play it very zoomed out in the view that I'm in right now, basically. And you want to allow the game to do the work for you. I don't want to have to micro every single unit to the right position, okay? I want to allow the UI of the game to just send the units where they're going to be effective. So I could grab these 2 factories, queue up infinite mantis, maybe a scout and 3 or 4 or 5 mantis. And then I just go maybe to here and then along here, maybe just around the side of the map. And then I grab, you know, another couple of factories, and then we just send them around another line of mexes. So maybe we send them through here, and then wherever they end up, okay? And then we can look at our eco bar, and we can look at the rest of the map, and we can drop units over here while our mantis are doing their job. And of course, at some point, maybe our rally point intersects with an enemy PD, at which point we can react, because again, we're zoomed out. We have time to make these adjustments because most of our units are already in good positions. So if you use the rally points cleverly, then you're going to free up all this time for yourself to manage the economy, to maybe make the very important micro moves work correctly for you. And this is going to be a lot more effective than, you know, individually microing these mantis around the commander and things to try and do a little bit of damage. Because in the end of the day, one, the amount of damage these guys can do is kind of limited because we're heading straight towards the main base, so he's going to have units there. But so there's a bit too much focus on the mantis here. This is sort of wasted APM in my view, because you can see here's his production. Okay, we microed around the commander and then we ran into the production anyway and lost the units. So, you know, was that effort useful, when really what we should be looking at is the eco bar? We should be looking at this expansion, which is not taken, or also this expansion. Perhaps this engineer who is lacking some orders. This engineer, for example, he got 2 mechs orders, right? He didn't get the 3rd one, and he didn't get any factories. So this guy, if you send an engineer to this position, or any of the other bases, what they should do is they should build mexes, and then they should build factories, and multiple factories, okay? And then again, we can look back there. Once those factories are finished, we can just cube some mantis, send them across to the next base, and the next base. And then, you know, again, just make it simple. Try to allow, like, the UI of this game is very, very powerful. And it makes the game a lot easier if you actually make use of what the game can do. Now, another thing to make the game easier for ourselves that we absolutely need is radar. So there's no radar on this map right now. You'll notice that when I play, I always have radar rings on. So, like, here's what I have on. I have radar and I have countermeasure. Countermeasure is basically, as it says there, shields. It's TMD, tactical missile defense. It's strategic missile defense. And it's torp defense as well. But mainly I use it for TMD and SMD. And the only other thing I have on all the time is radar. And that's how important I think radar is in this game. So we need radars around the map. We need factories around the map. And this will make everything easier. Maybe just, you know, patrol some air scouts as well. Can work fine. Because, I mean, we didn't know this army was here, for example. And again, if we have more information, if we have radar across our whole half of the map, then we can play zoomed out so easily. The game becomes very simple. It becomes very simple. It's like, okay, well, I have a bit extra mass. Let's queue a few more factories. Or maybe we'll make a mechs at some point. There's some units attacking here. Well, okay, I can just redirect some units over there. That's probably enough to deal with it. But in this scenario, it's like we don't know what's here. We didn't know this army was here. Now we're caught reacting. We're standing in the middle of the map, for example, making an upgrade. Now it's fine to make an upgrade, but it's not really fine to make an upgrade in the middle of the map with no idea of what's around you. It's quite a bad idea, and all of our units are kind of out of position at this point. So we could easily take a lot of damage from, say, these Lobos. If they were to focus on the commander right now, we could lose many thousands of HP. Or if his ACU was a little bit faster, he could definitely make us cancel this upgrade, which will be very painful. It's never good to cancel an to have to cancel an upgrade. So certainly a bit dangerous. But overall, I mean, the eco management is a bit. You can see it's kind of equalized now. So we have, you know, not too much overflow. We're using our mass. This is the kind of scenario you want to be in. I mean, that's a bit too much mass drain, but okay. And but the main issue for me is map control, really. So we're also not taking any of the reclaim. There is a decent bit of reclaim around. If we zoom out, you can see there's actually 15,000 on the map. I mean, quite a bit of it has been generated, but by Rex. But you can see here, for example, 1,000 mass around here, basically. So it's not. It is important. Okay, you have the gun now, which is good. And now, basically, to be honest, you can get the kill here. By the looks of it, what you should do is basically take your air. Right, you've dominated air for basically the whole game. Now, I know for a fact that I saw a transport earlier, so your opponent has been dropping around, by the way. I don't know exactly where they are, but I mean, they're certainly here, and I think they're probably here as well, judging by how many units are coming from the side. But you have, so that's sort of a, you know, it's not great to have air control, but your opponent is the one dropping all around the map, taking the map control. So definitely, again, if you free up the time for yourself to not worry about where your units are all the time, then you can, you know, more easily turn your attention towards, say, dropping around the map, taking the map control. But here you should basically be able to keep the ACU in range and run over him with the Mantis. Now you need a bit of vision, so if you just patrol, because you have air control, you can just patrol over where the ACU is retreating to, so you can basically see how big his army is behind him and see if you can actually just follow safely. Maybe he has 50 units here and, you know, you can't actually get the whole way in. Here, okay, so this is a major error. This is one of the errors that's very common, though. This is basically, think of it like this, right? You just allowed the ACU to get out of range, right? Your only job here, really, you have a gun comm in range of a comm that has no gun, and you have an army with you, right? Now this army is way out of position, by the way, but at this point you can just go in and kill him, right? So all you need to do is continually give move orders directly towards his ACU, and you win the game. So everything else happening on the map is basically not relevant at this moment in time. And unfortunately, this is a common mistake where people just are allowed to escape from certain death. So this is a condition where it's certain death. Okay, he actually got away with tons of HP as well, but there is absolutely no need for that to happen. You could easily you could certainly have killed him. So that's kind of an opportunity to simply win the game there, and it's gone astray. So pay very careful attention once you have a gun upgrade and your opponent doesn't, because these situations will come up time and time again. And if you simply just remember that your main objective there is just to stay in range of him. If you stay in range, you win the game. And on top of that, you can also, you know, scout ahead of you with your dominant air control. Just patrol to where he's retreating to. So now quite a slow reaction here, but we're moving in again. Now this is a bit scary. I mean, you're probably okay because you have gun, but you can't actually use your range because you don't have radar. And the gun extends beyond the Omni range once it's upgraded. So you're kind of taking a risk here for sure. Now you did run through here with units and they got past, so there's probably not a massive army here. You could maybe think that, but yeah, it looks like you're kind of okay. Now here, okay, you seem to have clicked attack on the commander. This is not a good idea, right? If you want your commander to attack the commander, then you right click the attack icon. This turns on snipe mode. This basically, well, it changes the ACU target priority to prioritize commander. And also, well, first it prioritizes the commander, then after that it prioritizes, say, high value structures, basically. But you don't want to do this because you can see what'll happen here. Well, one, he got just out of radar range, and so your commander stopped shooting. And then when you tried to follow, yeah, well, he could have gotten away there, but he somehow hung around. So once again, you should just still continually try to stay in range of the commander. This should be the aim. It's a com versus com battle, and you have the upper hand. So you need to stay in range. This is the mantra. Stay in range, okay? So now you've allowed him to get out of range again, which is unnecessary. I mean, he basically keeps walking back into range, and also while you're doing this, it can be fine to just basically, you're in an all-in scenario, you can just sort of send all your units forward, maybe set the rally points forward, but yeah, feels like you really can kill him. Look, he's still hanging around, which is quite crazy to me that he's still hanging around. I mean, he's quite ballsy, but he should be dead already. But look, we're gonna get another chance now. Please, now we really need to stay in range. This is a golden gift that he's given us. So the place you want to give the move order, right, is basically directly behind him. So you want to draw a line towards the commander and then just click behind him, basically, or directly on him, or wherever. But just keep him in range. Okay, our air is dying to PDs. That doesn't really matter though. This is where snipe mode is good, because if any units come into range, they won't be attacked. He will continue attacking the commander. He's down in 4,000 HP, and he's escaping. He's got 2 PDs here. He's gonna have a third one. Now the gun commander outranges T1 PD, so we can deal with that. Also, we should have energy storage. We should have actually multiple energy storages, and then we can easily defeat the PDs. We'll have no problem killing them. But again, you can still keep the pressure up on this guy. Now, I wouldn't... These are scenarios, although you have a gun commander, you have to still protect it with units. Because you don't know. Like, I mean, we can see now, we've sort of managed to spot many mexes spread around this side of the map. So you never know. There could be a very big army coming. I mean, there's a random army that we found. There could be a big army coming from the right that could kill us. So we need to keep the units still close to the ACU. Okay? We don't want to go running away with all of our units to start raiding, which is what you're thinking. I mean, raiding is it's a good idea to do some raiding here from this position, because, you know, he's under so much pressure. How is he going to deal with all the raids? But at the same time, this army needs to be mainly for protecting the ACU, because it's still vulnerable. You still don't have radar, still don't know what's coming. But you're certainly getting a lot of nice kills, and he's under severe pressure. Okay, so now we're doing some raiding. And we're running into the base, and we're sort of retreating towards this army, which is a good move. This is nice. I mean, this just shows the awareness that, you know, there is danger here, and so you have another army coming. Now you lost all your air, unfortunately, but yeah, at this point, as you can see, you still have very bad control of the map, right? He has T2 land, he has a T2, he has multiple mexes upgraded. I mean, we have what? We have one upgraded. But we have no map control, so certainly he has a better economy. And if he doesn't lose the game or take massive damage soon, then surely his greater economy will tell in time. So these bombers are doing a lot of damage, by the way. You can see we're very low on HP now, which is not so good. Also, there's 0 Medusa, which means the PDs are brutally effective. So, yes. Also, I spotted this here. This is a terrible idea here to upgrade this. I don't know if this is a misclick or something, but you'd never make such a valuable building in the middle of nowhere with no radar, with no defenses. You know, one of these factories has to be the T2 factory. Probably this one because it has adjacency, or you build a new one to upgrade. But this is not the place to put an HQ. Yeah, we're gonna waste a lot of units into the PDs here, quite a lot, and that's gonna also gift reclaim to our opponent. Not that he needs any more economy than he already has. There's really very little scouting, but yes, somehow you actually ran. You had so many units that you actually got past both the PDs, so with a few of them at least. But yeah, this is not an effective attack, I would say. So yeah, we're really in a very bad spot, I would say. Although it looks like we put our opponent under tons of pressure and stuff, he should be able to survive this. And he should be able to... Oh, okay. Okay, so you're very low. You've taken a lot of damage from, I think, Lobos, Pillars, a lot of damage from Bombers. And the ACU just comes in and he just goes for the kill with the vanilla commander. You have 1500 HP. He has 3,500. He's gonna draw it. This is a draw here. Okay. That's a lot of units you had in that position. Right. Okay. Interesting game. So, what I would say is that what your opponent did is... Well, I think basically if you merged what your opponent did and what you did, then we would get something approaching the correct idea for this map. So your opponent clearly used transport to drop in certain locations. You can see he has, say, factories here. He has a lot of factories here, which is exactly where you want them on the opponent's side of the map. This is very good. This is good. Another drop here, although he didn't drop this position, which he should have. But, and somehow, okay, this was raided by you. But at the same time, he didn't really make enough units. Even though he had, you know, he had map control. He maybe made too many mexes. He probably mismanaged his eco in certain ways. But you can see his expansion is superior. But your spam was superior on the other side. So if you can expand similarly to the opponent, and well, even a bit better, as in fully get half the map and then a bit extra, and then you just combine that with the Manta spam, then this becomes a very easy game. And this is the kind of map where you don't necessarily have to get the ACU involved because it's large. You can sort of, you don't have to, you know, make major pushes with the commander. It's obviously a very useful unit, very powerful unit, but it doesn't have to be put at risk in every game on this map. So here, could you have maybe just retreated when you're low HP, continued attacking with the Mantis? I think definitely you could have. If you had scouted, you could see that, you know, there's plenty of places your Mantis could have done damage. Basically everywhere. I mean, except here, basically, is where you could do damage. All of these mexes are vulnerable. This is a good factory. This is one of the factories I was talking about before, by the way, that you want across the map to help you defend and rebuild. But kind of a funny ending. But overall, you know, there's a lot to improve on, but not a bad game either. Probably should have been... Well, there's certainly plenty of opportunities for you to kill the commander. So that, you know, the commander micro is a major factor that is better to learn early. Because some people never learn it. It's the keeping a commander in range or keeping him out of range. These are two very critical pieces of micro in the game that people need to be aware of. Because if he was in range, if you kept him in range a couple of times there, you certainly get the kill. But yeah, hope that helped. There'll be another review coming soon. And yeah, if you have any more questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, guys.